So it's been a while since I've done a fragrance buying guide video. Do you like buying guides? And if you want to see more, let me know down below what you want me to cover. I've got an entire playlist of buying guides that I've been doing for several years now. The thing about it is, every year we get a new flanker, so they kind of go out of date. So you can give me some ideas of ones that I've already done before that you would like me to update, but also there are plenty that I haven't done yet. So let me know, regardless, in the comments. Today we're covering the YSL Y lineup. It's popular, people want to know about it, people are wearing these and buying these like crazy, and it's gotten to the point where there are quite a few now. I mean, looking at them, there's a lot. And it started off with just the Eau de Toilette and the Eau de Parfum and one or two more, but it's just gotten crazy since then, and I expect it to continue to grow. We're going to cover all of the YSL Ys, even a couple that are discontinued that you can still technically get, they're just not actually making them anymore, starting from top to bottom or going through all of them. I'm going to make it easy. I'm not going to completely go into the weeds to each and every one of these. It's going to take too long. Most people don't care about that. I foresee a lot of people who aren't into the community at all coming and clicking on this video because they just want to know which one they should get. So I'm just going to make it easy. YSL Y Eau de Toilette, this is where it all started. Technically, there's two versions of it. I've got both. You can't get the other version anymore. You can only get the new version. The differences between them are minor. Don't worry about it too much. The principle is going to stay the same. The Eau de Toilette is going to be one of the fresher ones in the line. Now, we can start kind of pointing back to some others, but we haven't got there yet. Just to give you a little bit of, look into the future of what we're going to be talking about, a little bit of foreshadowing. The Eau de Toilette is going to be fresher, soapier, more clean, and has more of a clean, fresh linens, freshly washed clothes smell compared to that of the Eau de Parfum and the Le Parfum as an example. So this one has some aldehydes in here, which is giving it that soapy, clean, light, airy freshness. Don't get me wrong, there's a bit of a sweet touch, but not as much as some of the others. I like the Eau de Toilette. I think it smells nice, but I do think for the price, there are better options out there, especially when we're talking about the performance side of things, because the Eau de Toilette, unfortunately, doesn't perform as good. That's a key factor for a lot of people. So how does this one perform? It's around a 7-hour scent. That's not horrible, right? But it does get much better than that. So let's move from the Eau de Toilette simply over to the Eau de Parfum. Now this one, it starts to get more sweet. So it has sage, geranium, amberwood, and a nice sweet apple accord off the top. That does kind of carry through to the mid and dry down as well. This is by far the most popular and most successful YSL Y release by a landslide. If you take a look at all of the discount websites, FragranceNet, Fragrance X, Joe Mashop, Fragrance Buy, missing some, but you guys get the drill. This is going to be on the first page of the bestsellers when you sort by best selling. When you take a look at all of the retailers online, Macy's, Sephora, Ulta, Saks Fifth Avenue, Dillard's, and many more, you sort by best selling, this is going to be on the first page. Not the same necessarily with all of them about some of the other flankers here. The Eau de Toilette might make it up there because it has been out the longest, but not really always the case. But for the most part, the Eau de Parfum is going to be on the top as far as a popularity contest is concerned. So that might be a detriment to you if this is something that's been overworn, or so you feel, then you might not want to go with this one. Maybe a couple of the other flankers would be a better option. But this is the most popular choice because price point wise, it's a little bit more expensive than the Eau de Toilette, not a ton, but you get substantially better performance, and that's kind of the main thing about it, really. Because the Eau de Toilette's a great compliment getter. People love how it smells, and they're very similar, but the performance sets this one apart. It's a 12+ hour performer. Absolutely beast mode scent, Y Eau de Parfum. So that's kind of the main selling point. The quality's fantastic, just like all of them will be. I mean, YSL is a pretty premium designer brand, and so that is to be expected. You're just getting a little bit more of a sweet approach with this one. However, don't worry about it too much. It's still very wearable as far as a warmer weather scent goes, depending on your comfort level and depending on personal preference, which is what matters at the end of the day the most. There are some better ones for summer, which we'll get to later. I don't really know where to go next. I'm not going to do these in order of release. I'm just kind of going off of what makes sense in my head and kind of what I'm just grabbing, right? So Up next, Y Le Parfum. So this one, it makes sense because, I mean, they had an eau de toilette, they came out with an eau de parfum, and then, well, just like every other brand, they got to have a parfum. Now, Le Parfum, I believe, is technically an eau de parfum intense. I could be wrong. I don't know because every brand does it differently. When I look into it, it just says Le Parfum. Does it behave more like a parfum compared to the eau de parfum? Absolutely. So maybe it is a true parfum concentration. Neither here nor there. That's kind of where this one falls. It has more of a parfum feel. It's not as loud off of your skin, right? It doesn't have the same immense level of projection as the eau de parfum. However, the longevity is still really good. The longevity is just a tick below the eau de parfum too, where the EDP might pull 12 hours or beyond. This one's just a bit less than that on average based off of my skin chemistry. As far as scent is concerned, it's like a parfum, right? So people who are unaware, it's just a little bit more rich and a little bit more sweet than the eau de parfum, but not by a huge margin. This is still maintaining that DNA that is prominent throughout the entirety of the line, just kind of richening it up a little bit, especially in the base notes. Just a little bit more heft going on, which I really like. Now, the Le Parfum is relatively popular, but it still can't come close to touching the eau de parfum. Still a good pickup regardless of that. And as far as pricing, again, it's not really too far off. The eau de parfum, Le Parfum, they're pretty close. So price isn't going to be much of a factor. It's going to come down to what do you want? You can sample first, or if you just want maximum performance, the eau de parfum. If you want a little bit more richness, slightly sacrificing performance, Le Parfum. And this still performs well above average too. I guess it would make sense to jump over to Y Live. And this did, I believe, come before Le Parfum. Again, we're kind of going out of order, is what it is. This is a discontinued one, so they're no longer producing it. However, there's still some pretty consistent stock on discounters. So if you click the link down below, you can buy it right now. I believe $114 for 100 ml. Really about on par with what they usually are. So it's not like it's overinflated right now. This is focusing on some juniper in here, and you're still getting essentially everything else that's going on with the others. The thing about this one is it's a little bit more bubblegummy sweet, and some people kind of say it has like an Invictus approach, which I would say that's probably a pretty fair representation of this. I'm not saying it smells like Invictus, but does have a little bit more of that styling as far as just the type of sweetness combined with the type of freshness that they're using here. I've never been a huge fan of this one. I don't dislike it, and I don't think it's a bad fragrance by any means. However, I do think that the eau de parfum is better. I think that in most situations, the Le Parfum would be better, and there's a couple others that I like better too. I think it makes sense in one way or another why this one was discontinued, and that's kind of where this one falls. This is also an eau de toilette, which isn't a horrible thing. It doesn't perform as good as some of the others, but it does do better than Y Eau de Toilette, the originator itself. I would have liked to see this one at least as an eau de parfum. I just think flankers are better off being eau de parfums or higher, especially when the original is, you know, an eau de toilette. Depends on the circumstances, of course, but would have liked to have seen that. Still a decent performer. It's 8-9 hours, dependent upon your skin, depending on a number of factors, which will never be narrowed down to an exact science. I mean, that's just how it is. Still gets the job done. If you can get it right now, like you can, it's a good pickup if you're wanting to collect the entirety of the line. When this one goes away to where it's hard to find, I don't really think it's worth necessarily seeking out and overpaying for it. Just my take. Let's go ahead and cover the other discontinued one, right? And you can still get it right now. It's about $4 more last time I checked. So you're looking at about $118 for 100 ml. And I really like this one. I think this makes a lot of sense. It is Y Eau Fraiche. So first things first, I mean, not that it's a beauty contest here, but the bottle is great. And out of all of them, I think this is probably the most aesthetically pleasing bottle to me. I love the gradient. I love the frosted glass look. I just, there's something about that. There's a blue tint ever so slightly. Look at that. Looks great. Just crisp, clean, and refreshing. And I mean, let's just keep it simple. Like I said, it's the freshest of the line, and it is the summer version of YSL Y. So you're getting a lot of like lemon, ginger, citruses. You're not really getting much of a sweet apple. There's not a ton of sweetness to boot with this one in general. It's primarily citric, fresh, aromatic with a nice ambroxan finish. And I really like the opening. It just has a nice punchy ginger texture mixing with all the citrus and stuff. It's a big head turner. I mean, it's something that just wakes you up. It makes you feel refreshed. It smells great. And this is perfect for high heat. You know, some of the others you might be able to pull off in summer, but when it starts getting really, really hot and humid and there's a heat advisory like there is right now, you know, most things just aren't even going to be appealing, and this might not even be either at that level of heat. But if there was one out of the line that would work, it would be this one. It doesn't quite have the aldehydes and everything like that, like the Eau de Toilette has. It's just going to be the freshest take. Let's just keep it, you know, how it is. So if you're someone who's sensitive to sweeter fragrances, if you're someone who just wants something fresher, but still maintaining the Y DNA just kind of reworked, this is a great option. Sad that they discontinued it, but you can still get it, and I recommend doing so if you have interest, because same thing. Once this one goes away, I don't think it's worth overpaying for either. Very few things would I say are worth overpaying for when they're gone. I wouldn't do that for this either, so just get it while you can. Okay, we're already kind of running down to the end here, working our way through these pretty good. Y Eau de Parfum Intense. This might be one of my favorites, if not my favorite in the line. So why is that? The easiest way to describe this one is they're removing the sweet apple from Y Eau de Parfum, Y Le Parfum, bumping up the aromatics, and that's essentially what you get here. So it kind of has a very strong focus on the geranium and kind of a minty green aromatic feel with a slight earthy undertone. You're getting the amber wood and everything like that. It still is a little bit more rich and a little bit more full-bodied and has more character than something like the Eau de Toilette. It has much better performance than the Eau de Toilette too. I mean, the easiest way to put it is it's just Y Eau de Parfum stripped of the sweet apple, but everything else stays the same. After all, it is Y Eau de Parfum Intense, so you can argue that it is a little bit more full-bodied and rich and strong than the Eau de Parfum, even though it's lacking the sweetness. It makes up for that richness and that character from the aromatic notes and everything kind of relating to that. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this stuff. Because sometimes the Eau de Parfum and the Le Parfum, they are a bit too sweet. Maybe they are a bit too playful, which definitely can be a concern. Just that sweet apple, it is kind of a newer, trendy style used in a lot of fragrances, even something like Versace Eros using that. So it's been, you know, utilized. This gets rid of that, and I think it makes it a lot more versatile as far as situations you can wear it, but also versatility as far as age range is concerned. You can wear anything no matter what your age is, but I do think people would have a better time gravitating towards this one as far as adults are concerned, whereas the Eau de Parfum might be a little bit more of a limiting factor given that sweetness. So that's good for people who are blind buying this and wanting to add it to their collection to wear it. That's also good as far as a mass appealing aspect is concerned, because more people around you maybe are likely to like it more. It's a great performer. It's a 10, 12-hour performer. Pretty much on par with the Eau de Parfum, but given it doesn't have that sweetness, it might be just not quite as strong. Just depends. But still, I mean, this is on discounters, and it's about on par with all of the others, a little bit less. I think it's, I don't know, 110, something like that. You can get testers for a bit less and all that stuff, but it's on par pretty much, and it's worth every penny. Again, this might be my favorite one. This might be one of the best purchases in the line. Last up, we have the new Elixir. This is definitely a polarizing one, because this little 60 ml bottle, which is the only choice right now, retails for, what is it, 180. Discounters have it right now for 125 or so, which is still expensive given the price per milliliter, but it's better. Now this one, they add in some oud and things like that, which you really don't pick up on a whole lot. That being said, I still like how it smells. It does have more of a sweet, spicy, kind of slightly balsamic opening, and then kind of further dries into more of like a Y Eau de Parfum intense smell. Not really getting a ton of the apple sweetness here either. So it's kind of like more of a flanker of Y Eau de Parfum Intense. It's just their Elixir version. Now this one does come in as a true parfum concentration. That is one thing that is for sure. Whereas, like I said, the Le Parfum I was a little bit not 100% sure on. This one is a parfum. Does all of that mean that this is worth paying for? That's up to you to decide. I love how it smells, but I also buy every new release regardless of that, so it puts me in a different spot. Do I think everybody should go out and buy it? Not necessarily. I think most of you would be really, really good off with the Eau de Parfum Intense and the Eau de Parfum, and that's kind of where we're at with this video. Really quickly, performance on this one, it's phenomenal as well. It's a 12 plus. Anything beyond, you're just getting into crazy zone. So yes, it's overpriced, but at least it performs good. So I already said it, but what do I think you should get out of the line? Really, it kind of comes down to the Eau de Parfum Intense, I think, is one of the best you can get right now. The regular standard Eau de Parfum, I think, is really, really good too. Those are two that I think every guy should look into. Beyond that, it's just kind of like, hey, you know, let's start collecting them, right? Because if you have those two, I think the Le Parfum is a little bit redundant. I think the Eau de Toilette might be a little bit redundant. It doesn't perform that good. I don't really recommend the Eau de Toilette for most individuals unless you're trying to collect the line. If I had to select a third, it would honestly be the discontinued Eau Fraiche, which again isn't a problem right now. You can get it. At some point that will be an issue. So that's kind of where I am. I think that kind of covers all of your bases. I will link each and every one of these down below to discounters for you. That way you can pick them up and find them easily if you've been on the market, on the hunt for these. And hopefully this helps you make a decision, because these flankers, there's so many. It can be hard to decide. So that's why I do these. And like I said in the beginning of the video, I want to hear from you. What buying guide should I do next? Whether it's something I haven't done before, like I don't think I've done Boss Bottled, and I don't know, there's quite a few more that I haven't done. And then also, if I've done it already but it needs to be updated, which one would you like to see? Because quite a few things have changed over the years. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.